Hi, agents, and welcome back to the show. This is Katlyn Eggar, your host, and today on Age of Independence, we have a guest I'm just really super excited to introduce you to, because today we're going to talk with Ryan Frank, and he is embarking on the journey of opening his very first insurance agency. And the catch is, Ryan, till now, has no insurance experience. And so this is going to be not just a new agency for Ryan, but a completely new jump into an entirely different career, big career move for Ryan. And we're going to be able to hear a little bit about the YouTube series that he has out, documenting every step of the experience along the way to becoming Mr. Insurance. And so really looking forward to picking his brain on people, processes, and what's made his businesses in the past so successful and given him the courage to take on the challenge of opening up an insurance agency for the very first time.
Friends, welcome to Becoming Mr. Insurance. My journey as a pastor, publisher, entrepreneur, and aspiring insurance agency owner. I'm Ryan Frank, and thanks for tuning in to the very first episode of Becoming Mr. Insurance.
So, hi Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Katlyn. I'm pumped. I've got a ton of respect for you, and I love the podcast. So thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you so much. And you know what, this podcast is really designed to help people in their insurance journeys, you know, whatever stage of that journey they're on, whether we've talked to people that have been in insurance for 20 years, but they're really working on growing and scaling their agencies right now, trying out new things, as well as people from your perspective that are newer to insurance or, you know, new to the independent insurance industry. So I have to say, right out of the gates, I think you're doing it right, Ryan, because you're starting off in the independent world, and so you'll just have so many options available to you. Really, the sky is the limit.
Yeah, well, thank you. And thank you for being such a great coach. Again, I have just a ton of respect for you and Justin. I remember the first time I met, I was working with Justin's dad like 11, 12 years ago, and went over to their house for dinner. And he told me about his son and daughter, Katlyn, that were living in their basement. And I'm like, what? Living in your basement? And they were like, yeah, because they're putting every nickel that they have into this new insurance company. And so I had the opportunity to work with Jack for several years, and I loved getting like almost seemed like minute by minute updates on how you guys were just killing it in insurance and hustling so hard and growing. And yeah, I'm excited to be kind of working with you now in this context of quantum and the insurance world. And you guys are great coaches, very inspirational leaders.
Thank you. Well, we've had a long way to come over the past 10 years. And
yep,
we have an episode. I don't know if you've caught this one yet, Ryan, but it's called Agency That Should Have Failed. And you're right. We were newlyweds when we opened our first insurance agency in Illinois. It was a scratch agency. And we have that in common. We had no insurance experience at the time at all. So that's something that you have in common with Justin and myself. And we really did put every nickel into the agency.
You did. Yeah.
So grateful that we did it. For us, it was before we had kids. So we were really able to go all in. And oh my gosh, we just learned so much along the way. And thanks for all the positive feedback. We're really just anxious to pass along those lessons and things we learned along the way to, people like yourself that are really diving into the opportunity for the very first time. Insurance for me was so life-changing. And so that's just what I wish for everyone else.
There you go.
Success in the career, being able to make a difference. And it really can be the career that a lot of families have been looking for, praying for, and just didn't know was on the horizon. So, so tell us where you're joining us from today, Ryan, because you kind of have your hands full right now.
Oh, I do. So I'm out here at church camp. So every year for like 18 years now, every summer, my family and I have come out to this church camp in East Troy, Wisconsin, where I started speaking here to the kids that come to camp, but back before we had our first. And they've invited me back every summer. It's turned into a great tradition for our family. It's really like a quintessential, is that the word? Kind of a camp.
Yes.
Horses and a lake and all this property, and it's really cool. So yeah, I am here in a t-shirt at the camp office. I've had the opportunity to speak to kids all week, and it's been a great time.
Have you ran out of sunscreen yet?
Not yet. But I'm telling you what, we're using it because the sun is shining. It's warm.
And it's not your first rodeo, so.
It's not. That's it. Yep.
I hope you guys have an amazing week. That's bringing flashbacks of when I went to church camp as a kid, and there was always, it was an adventure. Let's put it that way. So I respect camp counselors.
Oh, big time.
So have you, you have a background in ministry, Ryan. So tell us a little bit about that side of your life, because you've really been working a lot in kids ministry, and you were also a pastor as well.
Yeah, totally. So I really felt the calling to ministry when I was a teenager, and went to college to go into the ministry, went to seminary, got my master's degree in the Bible, wanting to be in ministry. And for 15 years, I served on staff at a church, a wonderful church where I grew up at as the children's pastor. So working with the kids and families in the church. But I always seemed to be kind of wired where I loved pastoring people. I loved ministry to people, but I also had this entrepreneurial spirit in me. So as during my 10 years as a pastor, we began publishing the curriculum we were using at our church, and we started training other kidmin, children's ministry leaders, started printing a magazine, printing books, and really trying to serve those that are working with kids and families in the church. And God just really blessed those efforts. So I'm no longer on staff at that church anymore, although we still go there and we're still really involved. But yes, a lot of background, both in a local church and leading a parachurch ministry, you might call it a nonprofit that serves a lot of churches in like over 100 different denominations, but primarily those that are working with kids and families in the church. Wow.
So as the CEO of Kids Matter, you have really accomplished something that's scalable and reaching so many different people. So I definitely want to pick your brain on that. And agents, later on in the episode, we'll ask Ryan a little bit more about why he decided to get into insurance and how that came along his path. But I think to really understand Ryan's leadership style, that we should start with some of that background history. Mm-hmm. So Ryan, can you tell us a little bit more about Kids Matter? Because what you've created there has really turned into something pretty big.
Yeah, definitely. It's been neat to see God's blessing on it. If you look up online, make sure to put a Z in there, KIDZ. Kidsmatter with a Z.com. We started publishing curriculum in a magazine like 15 years ago. We're still printing this magazine. Our print magazine is still doing very well. It's even picking up. So I don't know. Things seem to be going more and more digital, but our magazine still seems to do well. So that's kind of been our hallmark product, is our magazine that we publish. But we also have a pretty large online store. So if you work with kids in the church, we have downloadable curriculum and worship videos and countdown timers and printables and leadership resources and all kinds of stuff to help you recruit, retain volunteers, and to make the Bible exciting with kids. We also have an online school, Katlyn, that I know I've talked to you about a little bit.
Yeah, that's so neat.
Yeah, that has really turned into a pretty significant part of our ministry. It's called KidMin Academy. So KidMin is the hashtag for kids ministry. So a lot of our products and our resources have the word KidMin in them. But KidMin Academy, it's a 12-month school for either current children's ministry leaders or aspiring children's ministry leaders It's entirely online. At the end of 12 months, you earn a diploma in children's ministry, and we've given away nearly 4,000 diplomas in
Wow.
5 years. We have a whole curriculum that we publish around it, and a faculty of influencers and thought leaders in the children's ministry space. And we couldn't do all of this without a great team. God really has, over the last, Kids Matter's been around about 20 years now, which seems kind of crazy, but he's given us a great team. And yeah, because I think because Katlyn, the ministry continues to grow because we have such a great team. I have a little margin to focus on some things like what we're going to talk about later on, and that is insurance. But yes, it's been great. I think we're going to be able to bring a lot of what we've learned in working with pastors and church leaders into the insurance space.
So what's the mission and the purpose behind KidMin Academy that's the driving force behind all of those different parts and pieces?
Totally. At the end of the day, we want to train and equip people that are working with kids in the church. So we understand it's a really important job. In fact, a majority, I don't know what, what faith all of your leaders have, but, for those of us that are Christians, we understand that a majority of people that come to Christ make that decision as a child, that your worldview is pretty much established by your 13th or 14th birthday. I think we all understand the importance of teaching kids, of equipping kids, and how significant this is. And those that work with kids, they're often under-resourced.
Yes.
They get discouraged easily. They're back in the back with the kids all the time. So we just try to encourage them, remind them that what they're doing is important, get super practical tools and training in their hands to better equip them to do what God's called them to do.
Yes. And one of the things that it was really fun to connect with you on was pulling up the KidMin Academy online and looking at this amazing academy that you've created with courses and facilitators and influencers, guest speakers, content, job aids. And it's really a comprehensive program that really walks them through so many of the things they need to know. How long does it take to finish the curriculum?
Yeah, it's a 12-month program. Yep.
Okay.
We just launched a second-year program for graduates that want to do more, but it's a 12-month program.
And this was interesting to me because over the past year and a half, I've really been working hard on our learning management system at Quantum University. And there's so much planning that goes into how you create content in a way that's sustainable and scalable, but still effective. And so that people are able to embrace those new skills. And I love the way that you brought in guest speakers to really create that connection and to deliver some of those messages live. So can you talk to us just a little bit about how important it was? Well, I imagine that just looking at the way it is today, looks like a well-oiled machine that just runs smoothly. I know you have enrollments all the time and that you're not the person that's making this 12-month program win or lose. Like you mentioned, it's a team. So what role did automation and delegation play in being able to get it from not just a magazine, but to like a full 12-month program for people that work with kids and something that people are still just enrolling for? Totally.
So it does sometimes feel like, at least from the outside, a well-oiled machine. And I think it is a well-oiled machine. I'm gone for a week and I'm at a place where there's like hardly any Wi-Fi. I'm lucky to be able to connect with you, and things are going, things are running, and they're running smooth. I think what keeps them running, a few things. We try to stay really close to our customers, which are these pastors that we serve. I'm a big fan that you've got to really understand the people that you're serving. What are their pain points? Everybody runs away from pleasure, runs away from pain, runs toward pleasure. So identifying what are the pain points that this community is running away from, and what are the things that really bring them pleasure? Like what are the things that really bring them satisfaction and fulfillment in their life? As we understand those things, try to speak into those on a regular basis, try to build community. But then we also we try to stay as close to our customers as possible, really on a daily basis. Through email, we have a really vibrant Facebook group, like 26,000 pastors, super engaged Facebook group. So we're really trying to stay connected to these people that we're serving. But we have automated a lot of the business. So we do use Infusionsoft, which is Keep Now, and we do a lot with text messaging and email marketing. And when we discover new people in children's ministry or new people discover us, we're taking them through campaigns to let them know who we are and how we can serve them.
That's awesome.
And yeah, then I'm a big believer in finding good people, empowering them, and letting them go. And so we've got a great team of people that are really empowered, that I don't at all micromanage. I touch base with them, but I give them the freedom to go create. I encourage them to fail, and let's learn from that failure and let's move on. And the more I empower my team, the more I find that our organization grows, and the more margin or capacity I have for more. So yeah, that's where we're at.
So do you know what your like DISC personality type is, Ryan?
I need to do that. I've had several people ask me that, and I don't know. I've never done the test. I'm bad with that stuff. I haven't done what's the other one where like your number 1 through 10 or whatever.
Your Enneagram.
Yeah, Enneagram. I've not done that. And I always get those questions. I've got to do one of those tests so I can give somebody a good answer on that.
It makes me wonder if you're a strong I. I stands for influencer, because you're so comfortable with empowering people and then like letting them go and not having that like tight control over the everyday details. So it's just kind of interesting to see the strengths that different leaders lead from. So
totally,
that's played a really big part in you being able to scale Kidmin Academy. And you guys have a conference now too.
That's true. And I didn't mention that earlier, but that's another large part of our ministry. So we do a conference every fall in Nashville, Tennessee called MegaCon. And the website for that is megacon2021.com. This is a gathering of kids, pastors, ministry leaders. This will be our 4th MegaCon. And we have over 2,000 kids, pastors that come together for 3 days. We do worship, training, like 8 resource providers there with booths set up to let these attendees know about what they have to offer their church and their ministries. And then we always give someone a car, which is fun, Katlyn. So we always
give away a car.
We give away a car.
That's my dream, like Oprah moment.
It's so fun.
Where did you guys get the idea to give away a car?
As a team, it was actually Beth's idea. My wife Beth. We were talking early on when we started the conference, like we really need a few purple cows that people were going to talk about that is going to differentiate our conference from others. And so we decided we're going to run the conference entirely by volunteers, and we're not going to do it at a convention center. Those two things got our costs really down. So we're the most affordable ministry conference you can find, because we don't have to hire people and we don't have to pay a lot of money for a convention center.
Wow.
We also decided we're going to want to do something really big that everybody talks about. Let's give something away. Should we give away a cruise? Should we give away, what should it be? And Beth said, let's give away a car. So every year, this year, we're giving away a 2021 Chevy Cruze. It's at the conference. We pull it into the church auditorium. We draw a name, and we have the title there and the keys, and say, drive it home. It's so fun.
Wow.
It's a blast.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, it's a blast.
Guys, definitely Google this MegaCon website, because the energy at your event with these 2,000 pastors and kids ministry leaders is just so like to the roof dynamic, and just so neat what you've created so that people can come and plug in and have a really neat event like that you've made so affordable so that people can get there.
Well, thanks, Katlyn.
I love it. And I definitely want to pick your brain, because I know that running conferences, just there's so many details and so many things to think about with getting everybody together and making it something that everyone can enjoy and where you're able to accomplish the end result at the end of the couple days.
Totally. It is a ton of details, and it can be overwhelming if it's on 1 or 2 people. We have a team of 13. This year we have a team of 13 people. They're all kids, pastors, or ministry leaders. And then below them, we have a ton of volunteers. But these 13 people, we've kind of divided up the jobs. And hey, what's it going to take to pull this thing off? that's divided up 12 or 13 ways. Everybody runs with it. They all have a budget. We have a monthly Zoom meeting, and the conference gets pulled off, and it gets pulled off well, knock on wood. But yes, it's a team effort.
That's so funny. I feel like if I was planning a conference, we'd be having a daily Zoom meeting. So you.
Oh my word. Yeah. And probably week before it does turn into a daily, but yes.
Yes. So we probably have a couple of people listening that either have thrown conferences for their insurance companies or planning on doing one in the future. So what is like your number one tip for throwing a really successful conference that people will come back to?
Oh man. That's a really good question. I think it's all about atmosphere. I think it's all about atmosphere. You know, I heard a pastor a few months ago say that the difference between heaven and earth is atmosphere. And in Genesis, God created, or he goes like even to Genesis and like build a case around this. But if you think about it, I mean, atmosphere is so huge, not just in a church, but in an office, in any kind of a setting, the atmosphere. So how do you set the right atmosphere? I was at a conference a few months ago, great people, but just kind of like a slow, boring atmosphere. And yeah, it's still good. You still still take some stuff away. And
you might yawn a little bit here and there.
That's it, but you're going to yawn. So what can you really do to bring up the atmosphere? I think people remember that.
Well, a car goes a long way. Do you guys?
It does.
Do you guys do some things like in between sessions that help with the atmosphere?
We do. There's a lot of fun stuff. So we'll do like at night, we do parking lot parties, and we'll do, we do a lot of worship, which helps the atmosphere. We do a lot of games. We do a lot of impromptu, like pop-up parties throughout the event. We're funny about like, we want to have the right kind of music playing all the time, like up music.
Yes.
We have our volunteers and our staff. We really work on like smiling and talking to people and like high fives as people are walking by. So it's pretty easy to do, but it does take, you got to be intentional about it. You got to think through it all, and you got to have buy-in from everybody that's part of your team. Like, hey, we really want to elevate the atmosphere, and you paint a picture and you make a plan, and then you make it happen.
I heard from someone recently that they said their favorite part about going to events, and this was a person talking about insurance conferences, was they were like, you know what, honestly, she's like, the content is always great, but my memories, what I'm thinking about are like the people I met, the conversations we had, the chats in between sessions. And so I think one of the challenges to running a great event is creating an atmosphere where those organic connections are happening and those conversations, and people are thrown into situations like what you mentioned where they can meet new people. So what parking lot party? Because I feel like that went a long way.
Yeah, so we'll have a couple parking lot parties. We'll do one the first night with like some food trucks and stuff, and kind of like a late night networking kind of a thing. And then we're doing a new one this year that we've not really told our attendees about yet, because we're going to kind of surprise them with it. But we're going to have a couple buses pulled up with a stage. The buses are going to kind of like make a backdrop. We'll have a stage. We're going to do some live music. We're going to bring some lights in. We're going to rent some fire pits and have like marshmallows and sticks. And
that's so awesome.
Yeah, have some music, networking. I think a lot of it when it comes to atmosphere is keep it, doing things that people aren't expecting. So, and that might have to change from year to year for those of you that do conferences from year to year. But what can we do that's going to be unexpected? It could be as simple as a change in the schedule, or a surprise guest shows up that you didn't talk about, but you surprise them when they get there, like, wow, I didn't know this person was going to be here. They're taking the stage and talking. It could be some kind of a giveaway, but just kind of keeping people on the edge of their seats, surprising them with the unexpected goes a long way.
That sounds so fun. And we're planning to throw some quantum events in the future for our agents and for their staff. And so brainstorming with you on this is going to be fun. So
Beth and I are into brainstorm when you're ready. So
yeah. So tell us about Beth and your family, and where, what role does Beth play in these different projects and companies that
Huge. Yeah, huge role. So Beth and I have 3 girls. We have a 16-year-old named Lucy. Lucy has special needs. She's our firstborn. She's our specially wired one. She's probably always going to live with us. She's here at camp this week with us. So we have Lucy. We have London and Lily. So all 3 girls. London's in middle school. Lily's going into 2nd grade. And Beth and I have always worked together. So even back in high school, when we went to church together, we would work together in ministries at the church. And then when we worked at the church, we worked together at the church at Kids Matter. We both lead Kids Matter. And I know that doesn't work for everybody. We've talked to people, and some people are like, there's no way I could ever work with my spouse.
I hear that all the time.
You hear it too, because you and Justin work together, and I'm empathetic for that. I know it probably doesn't work for everybody, but it works for us. We're able to work together. And I think we actually do better when we work together because we complement each other's weaknesses and strengths and so on. So yeah, she's definitely more creative than me. She's more of a thinker, where I get an idea and I'm ready to go. And she's more like, hey, let's think about this. Have you thought about A, B, and C? And so we really do complement each other well. We ebb and flow well. And she plays a huge role in everything. We have Katlyn, for Lucy, this is kind of fun, but Lucy, since she was like 3 years old, she has loved water. So Lucy, we put in a swimming pool primarily for Lucy, because there's very few things Lucy will do, but she'll swim. For her 16th birthday, a lot of times you might help your kid get a car when they turn 16. Lucy will never drive. We got her a hot tub. She loves water. She's in the water all the time, carries watering cans all the time, plays in the kitchen sink at home.
Loves water. Yeah.
So part of our story is a couple years ago, there was this rundown car wash in our small little town of Indiana that had been neglected. It was open, but there were weeds in the grass, and the car wash did a horrible job. So we bought the car wash thinking of Lucy's future, that maybe she can help us as much as she loves water, help us work the car wash. We also have in our heart a desire to employ other kids with special needs. And so we bought this place. We put some money into fixing it up. It had I don't know if they have these out in Texas, but around, especially our neighboring state, Ohio, they have them a lot. Drive-through convenience stores where they have drive-through liquor stores and drive-through convenience stores where you never get out of your car. You like pull into this garage. It's like you're in the middle of a convenience store, and you order what you want without ever getting out of your car, bring it to you, and you leave. So the guy that built this car wash like 15 years ago had built it to have a drive-through convenience store. He had it open one summer, had a hard time finding help, shut the garage doors, used it for storage. So we decided, let's open this thing back up. It's been so fun. Katlyn, we've been able to employ my sister. She's one of our managers. We've got a lot of kids in our church and in our community that work, as well as a handful of special needs kids. We're going to employ more kids with special needs. But it's been a fun little thing for our community. So
that's so neat.
Yeah,
it's such a fun car wash. I love looking at the pictures online. You guys have just made it such a neat place.
Thank you. For a small little community, we decided, instead of it just being like a boring convenience store, it had a really small little kitchen. Let's get an ice cream machine. Let's do these gourmet sodas. Have you ever had a gourmet soda?
Oh, they're just the best.
Oh my gosh, they're the best. So you take like a fountain drink and you mix different syrups and like half and half cream with it and stuff. Totally not good for you, but totally delicious. So yeah, and Lucy at first wasn't real excited about it because whatever, but now this summer she's wanting to be in there all the time, and we're letting her go in there a few hours at a time and work.
That's amazing.
It's been super, super fun. Yeah.
Wow. That is so cool. And just the vision that you guys had to turn that place that was really getting run down into something that's part of Lucy's future now too.
Totally.
Yeah. And you guys have figured out a way to motivate people to keep their cars clean with that.
We have, right? Seriously, get your car washed, pull through for a cup of coffee or gourmet soda. Yep. It's been fun.
That's so awesome. So that brings us to today. How on earth did you think that you would have time to start an insurance agency? Because it's not like you're sitting around like golfing all day every day or something.
Well, that's true.
You're not bored, right?
I'm not bored. I like to stay busy, but I also, I really do. I'm passionate about, we talked about this earlier, about building teams. I'm not saying I'm great at it and that I do it right, but Beth and I are passionate about building teams and empowering teams. And so I have capacity for something else. I'm in my mid 40s, starting to get old. I'm not getting old, but I am in my mid 40s. And Beth and I have been talking over like the last year about, do we have room for one more thing? And we both agreed that we do. We have a home in Florida. We really have an interest in, we also have a home in Indiana, which is where our primary residence has been. We've always wanted to do something the last few years in Florida. We have capacity for something else. We love people. We're entrepreneurial. We want to, and I've always admired people like, I'm thinking of pastors like Joel Osteen or Rick Warren, that they've made so much money, or they make enough money outside of the church that they are able to do their ministry without charging their church. They don't take any kind of a paycheck from their church. So I've always admired people that do that. So I've always wanted to create these revenue streams that allow us to do our ministry, for free without having to take money from these ministries to be able to put back into the ministry. And yeah, to make a really long story short, I called Justin one day because I was driving through our small town here in Indiana, and I noticed another Allstate agency had closed its doors. And I called Justin, and I said, Justin, I'm just wondering, I've got this big office. Maybe I need to open an Allstate agency. And I don't know if anybody is selling Allstate here in Marion. And I'd forgotten that he wasn't with Allstate anymore, but he had this new thing called Quantum going.
Right.
And he said, Ryan, I need to tell you what we're doing with Quantum, and we really need to get together. And so we ended up talking, and one thing led to another. And I started getting excited about quantum assurance and about the idea of creating an insurance agency in partnership with Quantum. It has been, and we decided a few months ago, let's do this. Let's do it. We're all in. Oh my word, has it been a learning curve, Katlyn? I mean, Justin never said anything to me about a 200-hour class and a test.
Well, that's because you're in Florida. You're our guinea pig for Florida, Ryan.
Oh my word. Yeah. And then they told me Florida is one of the most difficult states. Oh, wow. So yeah, on top of already being a little overwhelmed by learning a whole new industry that I really obviously never sold in, but didn't know a whole lot about. Then I decided, let's open an agency in Florida, one of the most difficult states. I did pass a test.
Congratulations.
The Lord. And just literally, thank you. And just a few days ago, Florida runs slow, but a few days ago, I did get my license for Florida. So now we're working on a few other states that we want to sell in, but we keep getting closer and closer, Katlyn. I think we're just perhaps a month or two away from getting this thing off the ground. We're pumped.
Oh my gosh, that's so excited. And your runway to launch has been, a really great time of just like getting oriented, getting your bearings, learning insurance. And so we're super excited to have you on the team. And I admire your courage, like launching into Florida. I think there's going to be a lot of, there's always challenges starting a new insurance agency, but Florida has a lot of advantages as well. And so it'll be really neat to work alongside you guys with that.
Well, thanks, because trust, I have had plenty of people. So one thing that I've been really, really intentional about over these last few months is growing my network with other insurance agency owners. And Katlyn, I would say a majority of them, when I tell them we're doing something in Florida, they are quick to tell me the reasons not to do something in Florida, right? And so I could very easily be like, dang, be discouraged. It actually, for me, is a little bit of fuel. Like, I love a challenge. And so when I have guys or girls tell me like, Florida, good luck. To me, that's like a challenge. Like, okay, yeah, I'm sure it is challenging, but I think there's going to be a ton of upside, and I'm up for a challenge. And I'm pumped. And by the way, y'all have been great. Big shout out to like Marcy on your team. Marcy has been a huge help to me. Katlyn, you've been a huge help. Jeff, Justin, Fernando, so many people on your team that have been a huge help to me so far in the journey. So you are doing a great job.
Thank you. Thanks for the positive feedback. I mean, that's what we're here for. And I have to give kudos to the Quantum team because they do just want to help agents be able to figure it out, get it, just that learning curve that you have. So many of us had to just figure it out over a long period of time, and we want to shorten the learning curve for you. We can't make it easier.
Yes.
Insurance and starting a new business and being an entrepreneur is always going to be full of blood, sweat, and tears, but we can take some of the mystery out of it. And Marcy has such a strong background. She was a field sales leader, and she knows the business model. And Fernando has helped launch so many successful agencies. And so, and the people that you have behind you, Nicole's had successful agencies on the side and the independent side. And so we're right there with you to help you when, as you're testing the waters. And I can't wait for the team building part of this, because I know you've built teams in the past, and to put together a team when the time comes, it's going to be so fun.
Well, you and Justin and Jeff, your entire team, y'all really deserve a shout out, because I'm constantly amazed at the level of leaders y'all are attracting. And I know great leaders attract great leaders. And y'all, I mean, I believe there is a bright future for Quantum Assurance and its partner agents. And I'm pumped to be a part of it, kind of in some of these early stages. It's going to be great.
That's so awesome. Yeah, we're excited to have you aboard, Ryan. And so, so tell us about some of the things that you've been doing to, network with other agents and get to know the industry during this time that you've been working on an exam behind you.
Yep, the exam's behind me. So spent a lot of time studying. That was good. I did learn a lot. I've spent a ton of time. I bet if you're an independent agent out there and you have a website, I probably have hit your website, because I have Googled and I bet I've looked at 1,200 different websites. Wow. Primarily, I don't know if it's 1,200, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is, because I'll just, if we're sitting down at night watching TV or watching something, I'll get my phone and I'll just start Googling. I'll pick a city that comes to my mind in the country, and I'll just type in like Carrollton, Georgia, independent insurance.
Wow.
And I just want to look at people's websites to see what are they doing? What's their approach? So I'm trying to do the same thing with social. So I spend a lot of time just online, seeing what other people are doing, trying to grow my network and trying to make new friends on Facebook and LinkedIn. You and Justin were so kind to invite me out to Orange County, California, 5 or 6 weeks ago to meet with. That was
so fun.
Daniel Song.
Oh, shout out to Daniel.
Yeah, big shout out to Daniel, who has
Daniel and
6.8 billion followers on TikTok or something like that. But man, if you're in the independent insurance world and you don't know who Daniel Song is, you got to connect with him online, because he gets branding and customer service and just excellence. I mean, I think Daniel Song, excellence. So I've been texting with him. I've got a trip planned. Katlyn, back in August, I'm flying back out there to spend a day with him, because I was really intrigued with how he has automated things. And
well, and he's used Infusionsoft in the past, and you've used Infusion.
He has. Yes.
One of the things that you guys had in common that you started talking about right away.
Totally. So another I met through, I think it was through LinkedIn, or maybe it's through a Quantum Facebook group, but Adam Dixon. So I've been talking with Adam Dixon some. Adam, the next time I get your way, we need to spend a day together. Adam reached out to me last week and said, I'm going to be an hour from you. What do you think about if I drive up to your place and let's spend an hour or two together? That was such a good time. So I've been trying to meet with folks face to face, even like insurance agents in my own community, trying to buy their lunch and just pick their brain a little bit. Growing my network on Facebook and LinkedIn. That's been huge. It's been huge. And I told you this last week, Caitlin. It's amazing. And I know I'm young at this, but whenever I talk to somebody, I get a new idea or like, well, I never thought about going at it that way before. I think one of the worst mistakes any of us can make in any industry, whether you work in the ministry or in the marketplace, the secular, the sacred, is when you think you've got it figured out and you think you've got this. I don't need to be growing my network or learning. You're in trouble. The best leaders are growing leaders, and the best way to grow is by spending some time with people and growing your network with people. So that's been huge for me. Yeah, and now we're starting to get deep into business planning. So hey, what's this
Yes.
look like? What do we want to do the first 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, knowing that I'm sure it'll be fluid along the way, but I kind of want to paint a picture of what we want to do and what that time frame is going to look like as we try to build out a significant agency down in Florida.
Man, that's so exciting. And thanks to Daniel Song and Adam Dixon for, brainstorming, meeting up. And it's just always so fun for me to have those roundtables and
yes,
a bit of time away from, the email or the to-do list and be able to just chat with other agents about what's working and what's not working. And if anybody wants to have a roundtable next, let us know, send me a DM, let me know where you're at. We can set up a roundtable because those are always so fun.
good call.
Yeah, so that's really neat. So you're not far away from launch, Ryan. You and I were chatting the other day about processes, and I know you have to have done something right because you figured out scale before at Kidman Academy and your conference, and you figured out scale it at Lucy's Car Wash. And scaling a car wash isn't easy, and I think there's probably not a lot of margin for error with a car wash model. So it's not the first time that you've chosen a challenging business model. Share with us some of your driving principles and how you've been able to figure it out.
Well, I listened to your podcast the other day on processes, and it was so good. It was a good reminder to me the importance of process. Because here's the thing, everybody wants their company to grow, and everybody wants their company to grow fast. But we don't always want to put the work into what it's going to take to grow that company, which is putting the right processes in place, giving attention to your systems, putting attention into your structure, which is your people. Now, I've learned the importance of this, but Caitlin, it's not something I necessarily enjoy. So there are two things I hate more than anything: the dentist chair. I hate going to the dentist. I'm a nervous Nelly whenever I'm at the dentist. I don't know what. And then really like documenting systems, putting systems in place. I don't enjoy it. It doesn't come easy for me. I'm more just like a doer. Let's move forward.
Right.
So what's helped me is to understand the importance of good systems and then surround myself with people that can help me build these systems and document them and make them happen. And then I really like get behind it and like, yeah, this is really important. I'm in, let's do this. There's a great book called Bigger, Faster Leadership by Sam Chand, C-H-A-N-D, Sam Chand. And he talks about this very thing where he went and visited the Panama Canal and was amazed at what happens at the Panama Canal and how much of the world's economy depends on what happens at the Panama Canal and how quick are they moving these giant vessels out of this canal. And he talks about the importance of systems and structures. And he goes as far as to say that the size and speed of your company is directly impacted by its systems and structures. And so if you don't have good systems in place, if let's talk, and when it comes to structure, your people, if you aren't empowering your people and really letting them go, then it's going to greatly impact and slow down the size of your growth. You've got to focus on those things: your people, your processes, the product. And that's a challenge for a lot of us that are leaders, because we just are moving ahead, and a lot of us are relational, and we're visionary, and we like to chase shiny objects, and we are always excited about what's next. And if we're not careful, we'll keep pushing forward in all those areas at the expense of our growth and the things that are really important to us.
I think it's so encouraging hearing it from you, Ryan, because you said that as the idea person, the visionary, that it's really hard to like have to think in those terms, and really even having to bring other people around you so that it can happen. And
yes,
you're right. I think it's really painful getting processes and systems in place. It takes time. You have to slow down. You have to stop. You have to time lock it into the calendar. You have to get the right people around it. You have to have meetings around it. And that can feel like the brakes are coming to a screeching halt because you want to forge ahead to the next thing. And we could literally just speed ahead. But if we do, we will always hit a plateau because our people will have never had the system or the platform there that they can step onto, that they can leverage to like get to where they need to be. And so we'll never replicate ourselves. We'll always just be like moving on to the next thing and accomplishing that. And the person behind us is still trying to catch up. And so ultimately it just slows down the whole vehicle. So it's painful. I get it. It's easy to take the time and just having to, it's a hard pill to swallow when you have so much on the plate to think about, okay, it's probably going to take me this many weeks to get this just one process in, fully submitted. And so, so that was kind of the heart behind that podcast was, let's take a deep breath and just remind ourselves how important it is and figure out a way that we can prioritize the next step in our processes right now. So thanks for the shout out on that, but it's a good reminder because we can't scale if we don't have those systems ready to go.
You can't. And if you're a leader and you wish you had margin for something else. So maybe I wish I had more time with my family. It might be, I wish I had time to really put into this agency to grow it. I wish I had time to launch this. You'll never grow your capacity or your margin for more until you've really structured what God's given you already. So you've got to, I tell pastors all the time that you've got to run your ministry as if it was twice its size. And if you'll run your ministry as if it was twice its size, then you're going to have the capacity for what's next, and you're going to be ready for what's next. And when God's ready to pour a blessing upon you with growth, you'll be ready for it. But let's say God's looking down from heaven and he's ready to bless somebody with some growth in their business or their ministry. If you're not ready for it and you can't hardly keep your head above water, he's going to pass that blessing on to somebody else. So when you're small, what you would be forced to do, if you were big, you'll get big. But you've got to think that way, and you've got to constantly be thinking like, okay, I've got to focus on systems, focus on people. I've got to grow my capacity. It really is a linchpin for growth.
Oh my gosh. And it's so much easier said than done, but that's the reason for this podcast, agents, is we just want to keep getting great content in front of you and great guests that have been in your shoes so that we can just keep that entrepreneurial spirit inside of you just sparked, keep your imagination going, but just that extra push, that extra encouragement to do the hard things that we know we have to do to get where we want to go. And so we're all in this together, building businesses, and we have these big dreams, and we can get there if we keep reminding ourselves and each other about the important things and how to prioritize the things like this, the people, the processes that'll help us get there. So, so thank you, Ryan, for sharing. And I just love those quotes. I was definitely taking notes, and some highlights for me were what you said about like structure what God's given you already and run your organization as if it's already twice its size. And that's a huge thought-provoking statement for me, something that I definitely have to think about within my own department at Quantum. So thanks for sharing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So Ryan, I barely mentioned that you started a YouTube series. It's called Becoming Mr. Insurance, and you're documenting what this journey is like.
I am. So we talked about this. If you remember early on, I texted you and I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And I've decided to do it. So I've got a podcast and a YouTube channel called Becoming Mr. Insurance. And if nothing else, I'm hoping that one day I'll go back and be able to enjoy seeing this. I pretty much started back on day one, and I've just kind of been documenting the journey. It's nothing super special, but I'm hoping that will help some other people down the road that are thinking about getting into insurance. So I'm documenting the journey here. This is what I'm doing right now. This is what I'm working on. Also sharing some leadership ideas and just some thought-provoking things along the way. But yeah, it's called Becoming Mr. Insurance. You can find it on YouTube or podcasts. There's links to it on my website.
That's so awesome. And there's people joining the insurance industry every day, and people that were producers and agencies that are opening their agencies for the first time, and people joining from real estate and mortgage and different industries. So I think that they're going to love watching the experience from your perspective, and then that's going to, be a motivator for a lot of people. And like you said, it's going to be a really neat thing for your whole family to look back on.
I think so too.
Well, back when Dad opened his first insurance agency.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. Thanks for mentioning that, Katlyn.
Congratulations. And thanks for chatting. I know you have camp today. So what's on the camp agenda for the rest of the day?
Hey, you know what? I'm going to go out to the lake next because Lucy, our 16-year-old I talked to you about, Beth has her out at the lake. They've got a couple cool water slides that go down to the lake. So she was wanting to water slide. So I'm going to go out there and see her water slide. Then it's time for dinner. Then it's time for chapel. I'm teaching this week on a great superhero of the Bible that she never wore a cape, but she wore a crown. I'm teaching on Esther this week. I love the story of Esther in the Bible.
So timely for such a
it is for such a time as this. Yep. An orphan turned queen that not only saved her immediate family, but saved her entire people. It's a really inspiring story, and I've loved sharing it with the kids this week. So yeah, that's what's on the agenda for the rest of the day. It's going to be great.
Woo! Wow. Well, tell Beth I said hello. I hope you guys have so much fun with your girls and the campers. I love that story of Esther. It's so perfect for this 2020, 2021 challenge that everybody's going through. So I hope that goes just awesome. And thanks for sharing with us the story of how on earth a pastor goes from children's ministry to opening up an insurance agency. And I think it just makes so much sense after hearing about your passion for team building and bringing people together, and really having methods for bringing out the best in people so that we can accomplish great things together.
Well, thank you, Katlyn. Thanks for having me. Y'all keep up the great work. Thanks for the podcast. I love every episode. You're doing a great job.
Thank you so much for the positive feedback. I love that that you're liking the content, and so appreciate that encouragement. Agents, thank you for listening. And a highlight from today's episode: the size and speed of your company is directly impacted by your systems and your structures. And so I'm looking forward to chatting with Ryan again in the future. I hope everyone has an awesome day. Thanks for tuning in.